and welcome to Visual Radio. It is with great sadness that I have to announce the passing of a very dear friend. Her name is Claire Smith, and she was a major figure in the Melrose Humane Society, which, as you know, I'm a member of, we are staunch supporters of. Claire's passing is so monumental and painful because Claire rescued a lot of animals that would have been put down for years and years. And it's really sad that so many of the good soldiers, the great people, leave us too soon because Claire had a lot more work to do and she's been taken from us. I think she had a fall. I spoke with her husband a couple of weeks ago, and I heard from Marie Mazio from Kitty Connection today on email. And I just hate that, getting it on email, you know. I dreaded it. I saw her name and I knew the time had come, and it was very painful. First person I ever read on email that was a friend of mine that passed away was the late great Nick Vinay. Nick produced the Beach Boys, and he negotiated the Jimi Hendrix, Curtis Knight recordings for Capitol. Worked with Linda Ronstadt, Jim Croce, and his record label put out American Pie by Don McLean. So I think it was back in 1999, I got an email from his girlfriend, and Nick is gone, and it just shocked me. Getting it on email is just very hard. And just seeing Claire's name tonight, I want to dedicate this show to her. We're going to do a lot of work this year for animal rescue in Claire Smith's name. So just a moment of silence for my dear friend Claire Smith. It is the first Visual Radio of 2012. Today's January 5th, 3 days away from Elvis Bowie and David Presley's birthday. Or is it David Presley, Elvis Bowie? I haven't figured it out. But their birthday's on the 8th. Next Friday is Friday the 13th. I think on the 26th of January, we'll have a taped edition of Visual Radio, as I intend to be at Medford City Hall for the Verizon hearings. Verizon may be coming into Medford. Might be in Medford as of the 26th, 27th, February 1st. It looks like it is a done deal. I spoke at the City Council this past Tuesday. We had a robust discussion about Verizon coming to Medford. Now, hopefully, we can lobby to get WinCam on the Verizon. They give 5 public access stations, from what I understand. So they give 5 public access stations to each city or town that they are broadcasting in. So if you subscribe to Verizon here in Winchester, there's probably 4 other stations, maybe Burlington, maybe Woburn. I'm not sure how they designate it. We are on the entire RCN network. So even though RCN is not in Winchester, I'm one of perhaps the last show that's on all the RCN systems in Massachusetts. And I believe we're on Saturday night, 7 o'clock, and Sunday night, 7 o'clock. So the Peter Kalo show will be going over to them next week, because I've had a busy post-holiday season, as I'm sure you all have. Tonight we have 2 topics. Skip Williamson, a legendary American underground cartoonist, will be phoning in. And then Frank Delastrito will be talking about Lady Frankenstein. Upcoming shows will feature Steve Hunter of the Alice Cooper Group and Lou Reed's band. Steve Hunter is on the brand new Alice Cooper Welcome to My Nightmare, which is the follow-up to the original Welcome to My Nightmare. Let's see, Rob Fraboni has been promising to come on the show, so we'll talk about the Rolling Stones' new reissue of Some Girls and the Layla album, because Rob, of course, works with Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones. I don't think he worked on either of these albums, but because he's so closely associated with Clapton and the Stones, he'll make a great guest. Dina Miller, the daughter of Jimmy Miller, will be phoning in at some point in 2012. We have tons of guests lined up. Fantastic Jerry Ross, I hope to have next week. So next week, we postponed talking to Jerry. I heard Keith's 98.6 today on North Shore 104.9. And so that was produced by Jerry Ross. I've heard 3 of his songs now in the past week. Sunny by Bobby Hebb, Keith's 98.6, and Apples, Peaches, Pumpkin Pie by Jay Proctor and the Techniques. Song originally recorded for Bobby Hebb. It's in the vaults. I don't think Bobby put a vocal on it. It went to Jay Proctor. It became a big hit. And when I listened to it the other day, I'm saying, my God, he's got Bobby's inflections. It's Bobby's voice influenced Jay's voice. Never noticed it till like 40 years later. Okay, so let us make a phone call. Hello, Skip.
Yes.
Welcome to Visual Radio. You're live and on the air.
Oh, well, terrific.
How are you?
What about?
Good timing?
Yeah.
Good. Now, you know our own Don Daniel.
I know. He's the one that told me about you and made the connection between us.
Yes.
I'm happy for that.
Don's a good man. He's on our board of directors here at WinCam.
Oh, good.
And you are on Visual Radio Live. Boy, I've got the Wikipedia pages on you. They're quite extensive. And I got to say, I love your Facebook. Thank you for friending me tonight. I love the comic book art.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get as much up as possible to just get the historical record down in terms of the diversity of what I've done and what I do. So that's kind of what Facebook's about. I'm trying to get it all up before they bump me off of Facebook for being inappropriate.
Did they?
They might. They've taken down a few things, and I think if I hit them again with something they disapprove of, they'll probably get rid of me. But so I'm trying to get as much up as possible in the meantime.
That's the very strange thing about the internet. We really need to have backup of all our sites because if a YouTube or a Facebook doesn't like a video or two, you want to have it all archived.
Right.
And you won't have to do the work again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of wondering how that's done with something like Facebook.
I don't want to advertise products, but maybe I'll send you an email. We were at a convention last May, and there is a company that backs up the Yahoo accounts and other mail accounts for like $5 a month. You get like 20 accounts backed up.
Oh, that's terrific. Sounds good.
Yeah, so there are companies like that out there, and I really need to, because content, as you know, Skip, content, so important.
I know, absolutely.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Do you have the TV on right now or the computer? Do you see us on wincam.org?
My partner in crime, Jay Lynch, said that he wanted to know if you'd be on there. But let me get to the computer right now, and
I'm holding up WinCam, WINCAM.org.
I've got the link here, I think. So,
yeah, and I'm holding up the Mission Impossible red poster. I wanted to get your opinion of it.
All right, well, let me get there.
All right.
WinCam.
And I will talk as you're getting there. There's 3 of these posters, and we had a whole bunch of them out here for people. There are a black, a yellow, and a red. And this is the red with the tallest building in the world, Dubai, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Right.
Can you see it?
I see it, yeah. I'm watching it right now.
Cool. So what do you think of that?
The poster itself?
Yeah.
It looks like a needle.
It looks like a singularity, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. I'm always impressed by, innovation and, what crazy things people are doing, what sort of illogic goes on in the artist and architect's mind.
Now, they have a smaller poster that I'm holding up, and Tom Cruise is in the middle. And what was that movie he did with Colin Farrell, where the Crimes in Advance? Oh, with the 3 psychics. Anyways, that's the costume he wore in that movie. I should know that movie title, but anyway, it's really fascinating that they took an old image of his from a previous movie, made it the central point on a poster for a new movie. Sure, it's not an accident.
Yeah. I know. What's that? I can't see. The movie is
Ghost Protocol. Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. That's the recent one, right?
It's doing quite well. In fact, I call it the James Bond movie that they dropped the ball on.
Yeah.
It's a really good James Bond movie without Bond in it. And Tom Cruise is very...
No Daniel Craig.
Yeah, and Daniel, of course, is in that kind of a Sherlock Holmesy movie, the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Right, which I've seen the originals of that, the Swedish versions, and I like them very much, but I hear that this version is not so great.
Well, I enjoyed it. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is even longer than Ghost Protocol, which is like 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. But maybe the Swedish...
I certainly enjoyed the originals, the foreign language movies. They were excellent. So I am kind of interested in seeing what's going on with the American version.
I think it's a fascinating thing in pop culture to have a movie come out 2 years. It's only been 2 years, right, between the two films?
Yeah. Yeah, everything is accelerating.
So before we talk about you, I want to ask what you read for comic books that aren't your own before we get to you.
No, I don't read comics.
Ah.
I almost never see comics. Part of the reason is because I'm disappointed in them. I certainly don't like the genre comics, men in tights that appeal to 13-year-old boys. It's just, and as for the young cartoonists these days, most of them are quite, there's just no energy in them. It's all about drinking coffee and being full of angst. Whereas when we started the underground comics, it was like an explosion and full of energy, a completely different genre, something that really doesn't exist too much anymore. So I don't go to comic book shops.
Very interesting. I grew up on Jack Kirby and even Frank Frazetta.
Oh yeah, well those two are excellent guys. Now I did a drawing that after Jack Kirby died. They put together a book of other artists interpreting Jack Kirby's characters, and I did the pages there. So I've drawn Kirby from his sketches.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
where are these available? Or are they yet?
Yeah, they've been out for a while. I'm not sure where they're available. I would assume that there are still copies available, but I don't know for sure where you could purchase one. It would probably have to be a mail order.
Do you have books out?
Do I what?
Do you have books out? Because I don't know. I haven't read the whole thing yet, so sorry.
I have 2 e-books out I put out this year, and both are memoirs. One is about working at Playboy, and the other is about the birth of the underground comics. And it's interesting stuff. It's full of, murder and irresponsible drug usage and lots of sex and, the things that people like.
Now, is John Dante still with us, do you know, from Playboy?
Who?
John Dante. He worked over there with Hefner.
Dante.
I was very close friends with...
A rival magazine called...
Oh, no. John Dante worked with Hefner. Jojo Lane knew him, and she told me about him.
Yeah, John Dante. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was at the Playboy Mansion once, and John Dante had some very powerful weed. I do remember him.
I only know because we had a conversation.
It was me, Hugh Hefner, John Dante, and Harry Reams.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Harry Reams, who has never been a centerfold for Playboy. Nor would he have, nor would it help circulation, would it?
No, it wouldn't. Well, they got circulation problems enough, That magazine is completely gone into the toilet, but...
Oh, I didn't know that.
They got Lindsay Lohan now. They're pushing. They sold a lot of those issues, but they're having a hard problem.
Everything's got to be reinvented. And like you said, the whole underground comic thing was so vibrant. Fritz the Cat.
Exactly. We started doing underground comics, and by we I mean me and Robert Crumb and Jay Lynch in 1968. And our comic out of Chicago, Jay Lynch and I lived in Chicago, and we published a magazine called the Chicago Mirror. And then we decided to change it to a comic format, and Robert Crumb came to town on a Buffalo protesters for the Democratic Convention, and we sat around and created the first issue of Bijou, which was, after Zap, the second underground comic. So that's kind of how that thing exploded. It was just the energy of cartoonists working together, and then all of a sudden they were everywhere.
Now, do you know Buzzy Linhart?
Buzzy Linhart. No.
He wrote the song "You Got to Have Friends."
Oh yeah.
And he told me that Al Crumb modeled Fritz the Cat after him. He had an album called "Pussycats Can Go Far."
Now, Fritz the Cat was originally serialized in Cavalier magazine back in the '60s, and you know, it was made into a movie. Robert Crumb hated the film. He disowned it because they changed the entire character in the film. And in his comic books, he later had Fritz the Cat as a jaded movie star who was killed by an ostrich chorus girl, and she plunged a ice pick into his head.
Well, that's a good way to go. Bijou Funnies.
Yes.
It must have been difficult to get distribution for these.
It actually wasn't, because there were head shops across the country. I mean, we distributed a lot of them, and we sold millions of copies. But there was what eventually happened was Nixon instituted the community standards law and put us all out of business. Head shops were afraid to carry them because they're afraid they get shut down. These are like mom and pop businesses. So essentially the market dried up.
Now, I go to the head shops, of course, to buy my underground albums. What was it? The Great White Wonder by Dylan.
Yep.
Liver Than You'll Ever Be, the Rolling Stones. And Let It Be, the Beatles. The original version was out as a bootleg, stamped on the cover. So you can get these great comic books that you were doing. These really compelling underground recordings. Head shops were very unique. They
were very unique, but they were the conduit to us becoming successful, because every town had a head shop, and they all carried the comics.
And I remember to this day the incense. When you walk in, there'd be incense, and it'd be a really different experience.
Yep.
Now, you're in Vermont. I live in
Vermont.
Why did you choose Vermont?
Well, I've been visiting Vermont for about 5 years, and I really liked it here because everybody's crazy, again. And I moved in. I moved into Williamson, Vermont, and last August we were underwater from Irene. So I'm still putting my gallery back together again.
That's terrible. I hope your paintings are okay.
The paintings are okay. I lost a lot of early stuff, but the paintings, I got them up and out just in time, and now I'm trying to increase my gallery from the first floor up to the second floor and make it a bigger space. So yeah, I'm up here. Anybody come up for skiing and come and visit the gallery.
And where is the gallery located?
It's on Main Street. It's at 31 West Main in Wilmington, and it's right in the middle of town. It shines like a beacon. I got it all lit up. You can see my images from the street.
That's awesome, man. When you say you lost some early stuff, was that originals or copies of the magazines, or?
Some originals, a lot of personal correspondence, and a lot of valuable magazines and publications.
It's just awful because an artist like you is also a walking library, because you, no doubt, care about these creations and it's intellectual property. It's a major tragedy to me.
Well, it was a major tragedy for the whole town. Everybody's building back, but everybody's coming back, so I'm glad to see that. And ski season has started, so we're getting tourists into town now. And I know ski season has started because the ambulances keep coming every day.
It's that bad, huh?
Ski season starts. Yeah, when ski season starts, you hear the ambulances going up to the mountains.
So it's one sport that I'm reticent to try.
Well, for good reason. People get hurt.
Yeah, Sonny Bono, for one.
Yeah, right.
And I think a Kennedy, too, one of the Kennedys.
Yes, that's correct. A lot of people get hurt. But where I live, we somewhat depend on the ski crowds to come down into town and poke around and buy Vermont goods made in China and that sort of thing. But and I get people in and out of the gallery, but I don't do a lot of business out of the gallery. It's mainly a showcase.
Now, do people from the old days come up and visit?
Well, I see some people. It's not a question of them coming up and visit. We keep in touch. I keep in touch with Jay Lynch, and I don't talk to Robert Crumb just because he's off in France, and there's no reason to discuss anything with him right now. We stay in communication with a lot of the older guys. Frank Stack, who did The Adventures of Jesus, which is considered really the first underground comic book. He's Professor Emeritus at University of Missouri, chairman of the art department there. And so I keep in touch with these guys.
Fascinating.
I speak them every now and then.
Robert Crumb did, of course, the famous Janis Joplin Big Brother album, Cheap Thrills.
Yeah, right after he finished that was when he came to Chicago to do comics with us.
Oh.
He had just finished that, and then he came out and we created Bijou.
Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills. And it's such an important album cover that gets reduced to a little CD cover.
Right, I know. That's the problem with CDs, isn't it? No great album. The album art was such a great format for displaying artwork.
Yes.
And now you can't see anything.
It's absurd.
It is absurd.
What do we do? Have these album covers blow up on the internet? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Actually, that album cover was intended to be the back cover for Chief Thrills, and they rejected his front cover.
Oh.
So, that's interesting backstory.
So he must have that in some of his publications. I did not know that.
No, I think it's owned by the record company. It may have been sold for big bucks recently. I think I heard it was.
Wow. I'll have to talk to our friends at Sony about that.
What?
I'll have to talk to our friends at Sony about that. I'm a huge Joplin fan.
Yeah, right. Me too.
We recently had John Till on. John was in her Cosmic Blues band at Woodstock. And the final band, Full Tilt Boogie. He's on Festival Express, and he's a friend, and he phoned in last August, so we talked a lot about Janis and the tours. But our Crumb, yes, that was the big album cover, and then that I did not know that. And then he met with you people and did the Bijou.
Right, exactly.
And what was the concept behind Bijou Funnies? How did you just?
Robert had just created Zap Comics.
Right.
And that kind of that was the comic book that Jay Lynch and I made us inspired to change. We were publishing a magazine at the time called the Chicago Mirror, and we were inspired enough by the Zap Comics that we decided to change the Chicago Mirror to Bijou Funnies, and then after that the race was on. The beast was loose in the fields.
Now, last week or 2 weeks ago, I had Carolyn Preston on. She has a new book out. It's her fourth book, The Scrapbook of Frankie Pratt. And it's a fictional character, Frankie Pratt, in the 20s. But this book is literally a scrapbook. And for people like us, it is really, Skip, it's really amazing. I'm flipping through it, and she's got like vinyl albums and Coney Island tickets, and she'll go to antique stores and eBay and pick up these collectibles and put them almost in an underground comic book form.
Right.
And it's really well done. I just said to her, this is just one of the most amazing books of the year. Because she had written regular fiction, and her husband's also a writer. He said, what are you doing? And she was totally into scrapbooks and made this novel kind of scrapbook book. It was just issued. And I just like innovation, and what you guys did was innovative.
I was going to say, innovation is really what creativity is all about. So to take a form, if she writes fiction, to take that form and then elaborate it on it in such an incredible visual way, good for her.
Yeah, if you get a chance to go to a bookstore or a library and see the Frankie Pratt by Carolyn Preston, it's because of it, her taking that step. It was a gamble. The publishers were kind of taken aback, as you would imagine they would be.
Well, they don't understand innovation. They know what is and they know what has sold for in the past. But when someone comes with something new, they're a little reticent. That's why I'm self-publishing these ebooks. They're more like underground comics because I control everything, and I don't have to deal with pesky editors and wait a year for the thing to be published. You just put it up.
And you've got a worldwide audience.
I get a better, and I get a better cut. I mean, with a publisher, you're lucky to get 10%. With Amazon, I get 70%. So it's an obvious way to go for someone like me. And I guess I will at some point. I mean, I've written an entire autobiography. It's well over 350 pages, and these ebooks that I'm publishing are excerpts from that. And at some point, I'll get it published in a book if I can find a publisher that will do it and do it the way I want it. But at this point, I'm satisfied in doing this Kindle stuff.
There's a lot of great university presses that really are putting the love and care that should go into a book. University of Kentucky. There's a great, The Count, Arthur Lenig. He did the biography of Bela Lugosi. So the original pressing put out on a major publisher, I think it was Simon & Schuster. They sold out of the first pressing, and they didn't think they could sell another pressing, so they were content to sell out of the first run. Became highly collectible on eBay and Amazon. And then Kentucky Press, I believe, the University of Illinois, one of these two great, university presses, did this marvelous 400 or 500 page edition, which had everything Arthur wanted in, the original and more.
Right, good.
And we had Arthur on around Halloween. We had a great series around Halloween of, Dracula and whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But it's the university presses, Skip, that I'm impressed with.
Yeah, I'll investigate. My book is like I said, it's about 350 pages. It's another 300 pages of artwork, so it's a 600-page book at least. So someone's got to put a considerable, effort into it and finances behind it, and a lot of the publishers are just skittish.
I think that's where these university presses fill a need, because these books are gorgeous and they're collectible, and I put them on a shelf and they're never going to leave my shelf, unless I want to read them.
Yeah.
But they're just really collectible. Now, with all the skiing up there, do you get people from all walks of life walking into the gallery?
I get minimal traffic into the gallery. I don't know exactly what that's about, but people are out there to buy T-shirts, and such. But I do get people from all over. I get a lot of people from Boston. I get a lot of people from New York City. The Eastern Seaboard comes up and skis. So we do get people coming in from different locales all over the place.
I know that here in Milton they have the artificial snow, and that's why they're skiing this week.
Right, and that's what they've done here. And because we haven't had enough snow this year. Last year we had huge amounts of snow, but this winter not so much.
But it's cold enough for them to make the artificial, and
Oh yeah, it's down into the teens and below zero at night, so it's plenty cold.
I can't imagine going up to Vermont to go skiing and only to find that you're in an ambulance, far from home.
It's true. It's true. I've got there's a tavern I used to go to here in Williamson, and there's this guy named Rescue Joe, and he works as a rescuer up on the mountains. Gets people who've been injured, and then he came in one afternoon. He had a hard morning. He said, "Yeah, we had ruptured spleen, some ruptured kidneys, 2 broken legs. Just amazing amount of injury going on up there."
And you never hear about this. People just say, "Let's go skiing." There was a kid fell off of a ski lift here in Boston yesterday. Did you hear about that?
No, I missed that.
19 years old, died. They're thinking he might have had a.
What is he doing?
Well, no, they think that he might have had a seizure on the lift. He was on the lift and he fell out of the lift.
Yeah.
And they found him face down in the snow, and he was with a skiing team from the high school. Of course, being 18 or 19, I don't. He seems older than high school, but you can find it online. It's a very, very sad story.
Yeah.
But as with anything, there are risks. But I would rather be at a gallery than, having to repair my kidneys.
Oh, absolutely. Good question.
And do you have public access TV up there?
We do, but I don't have TV. I live without TV. The only thing I use TV for is Netflix.
Oh, so you have a TV for Netflix?
I've got TV, yeah, but I don't subscribe to any service. I order Netflix and watch my movies on the TV.
So they mail them to you, or they're online, or how does that work?
I'm getting them mailed to me. I don't have the technological capacity to stream them yet. I need a more updated computer, but that will come.
But as you're seeing our TV show right now on your computer, you can watch your Wilmington, Vermont public access.
Really?
Yes, and if they're streaming, and I would imagine they are, and if you like this interview, I'll probably send you a DVD if you want.
Oh, I love it.
And if you like the interview, you can just go down to your access station and say, "Here, please play this for me."
Oh, okay.
The only rules are we can't do calls for action, so we can't be an infomercial, so we don't do that. And I like to keep it clean because I want to be played 24/7.
Of course.
Instead of just in the safe harbor after 11,
Right.
We were transferring my Margaret Cho, the comedian, video yesterday. It's 11 years old, and she used a lot of cuss words in her lecture. So I like to bleep them out, not for censorship, just so that I can get more
I know.
of an audience.
Access, yeah, right. It has to do with access. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll try not to use any cuss words in this interview.
You haven't yet, and that saves me from editing.
Okay, well, I want to save you some work there, Joe.
Well, it's important because...
I know it is.
No, and you're a very important figure, and we're honored to have you on here tonight. Do you get back down to Boston at all?
Well, if I'd had a little more advanced notice about this, I would be in the studio with you right now. It's not that far away. You're about 2.5 hours away, I think.
Well, I wouldn't want you to come down just for our show, because we're here every weekend. If you're down in the area, you're more than welcome to just say, "Hey, Joe, give me this Thursday,
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. You'll hear from me again.
And if I'm busy that night, you're the host.
Hey. Yeah, right.
Did you hear what I said? If I'm busy that night, you're the host.
Yeah.
So you can have...
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, we just have fun, man. We have fun.
It sounds like it. I was the Underground Comics were just the beginning, and I'm pretty much linked into that because I'm a historical figure in it. But I also worked on staff at Playboy magazine for 10 years, and there's some quite crazy stories about that.
Now, what did you do for Playboy?
I was art director. I was special projects art director. I could create my own projects, and they'd send me off to do them. I designed pages, hired models, art directed photography sessions. But mainly, I dealt with some of the greatest writers and illustrators on the planet, and laid out pages for the magazine.
So if there was an iconic issue, say the John Lennon-Yoko Ono interview from 1980,
Yeah.
did you work with that one?
No, I did not. I didn't do the interview stuff. I did the fiction. I did, like John Updike and,
Oh,
a lot of serious writers, and I also created humor projects for them, something you never see in the magazine now. I did a lot of kind of almost National Lampoon type humor packages for them over the years.
now with magazines in flux, and they're way too expensive. I mean, how many magazines? I get a lot free, and if I didn't, I probably wouldn't go out and buy them.
I know, and the thing is, I think they're a thing of the past. Essentially what my Facebook page is a magazine.
Right.
And it's not so much a social networking thing for me. It's really, me posting articles I like, not always about me, or not always, dealing with me, and photographs I find, as well as my own art and historical references throughout. So I don't think magazines have much, left in them. People aren't producing magazines like they used to, and certainly not quality magazines.
They're slick, they're expensive. You walk into a Barnes & Noble, and, you're looking at $7-8, and it's like, what?
Yep.
I like to collect them, but it's just tiny type, and you get more on the online.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's all heading online.
But I think to give up, take Playboy. You can certainly work with it because it's an institution, and very carefully reinvent it, I think.
Well, you can, but you got that main roadblock there, and his name is Hugh Hefner.
So he is in the way. I didn't realize that.
Well, I don't know if I would describe him as so much in the way. It's just he's very insistent on what he likes, and he lives a very cloistered life, and it doesn't make for a lot of innovation and new ideas.
He was certainly innovative in his day.
Oh, yes, we all have a heyday, and in the early 60s, it was an amazing thing that he did, put together that magazine. Of course, he had a good crew, too. He hired a great crew, and he got good writers and great writers, and they had, nowadays they interview Justin Bieber, and they used to interview, Fidel Castro,
Big difference.
It's changed. Yeah, it's become more like a People magazine kind of thing, There were great innovative covers over the years, and then all of a sudden they started putting celebrities on the covers, and it looked like Cosmopolitan. So I think there were basic mistakes made along the way, and they probably could have kept their subscriptions, their distribution from falling away if they had continued the innovative ways that they started with. But, people do what people do.
Now, Larry Flint has built a really nice publishing empire with a variety of magazines.
I was the first art director for Hustler.
Were you?
Really?
That's amazing.
I was on the first issue. I quit halfway through the first issue because I couldn't stand Larry Flint. But technically, I was the original founding art director of Hustler magazine.
Was this prior to Playboy?
It was like a fairly conservative magazine at the beginning, and I kept telling him, I said, Larry, make it dirtier. And he made it dirtier and took it back to Ohio, and the rest is history.
Because that book on the Flint versus Falwell trial, the book itself is marvelous.
Yeah.
A great First Amendment book.
Yeah, right.
But my point was that he has built a...
I think despite the fact that I think he's a sleazy operator, he is also one of my champions in terms of First Amendment rights.
Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah.
I like the movie. I think.
Yeah.
Did you like the movie?
Well, I wasn't in it for my existence. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Woody Harrelson, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Now, were you at Hustler before Playboy?
Yes, I actually worked at Gallery. I started in the girly magazines in the around 1973. I was the art director for Gallery magazine. And then after that, Gallery folded. It was stolen by the distributors and taken to New York and changed. And my publisher at Gallery had formed an alliance with Larry Flint, and they decided they published a new magazine called Hustler. So they enlisted me to art direct it, and that's how that happened.
Man, that's amazing. I'd love to explore that in more depth when you're here in person.
Sure, we can talk about that. I mean, it's all in my book Flesh, the ebook Flesh. The whole story of my working for magazines, Mafia Connections, Larry Flint, Hugh Hefner. It's all in there.
Now, is Flesh the first or the second book?
Flesh was the first book. The second book is called Spontaneous Combustion. And that's about the advent of underground comics. It's about me and Crumb and Jay and all of the people. About my move to Chicago.
And if you put these out as a full book, would you call it something else?
Yeah, I have a couple of titles. One is My Bitter Agenda, and the other is Terra Incognito. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do yet, but I've got a couple of titles for it.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool, man. We have only a couple of minutes left, and then we talk to our movie host from Texas, Frank Delastrito. We're talking about Lady Frankenstein tonight.
Huh?
And we play public domain movies here on Friday nights. It's fascinating. Frank says, boy, you people are playing some of the best movies. Lady Frankenstein won't fall into that category. It's a 1971 Italian horror film.
Friday night, huh? I'll have to tune in.
Yeah, it's great because you can see a lot of these on YouTube. People upload them to YouTube. These public domain films, you can actually download them for your DVD on archive.org. They're free, you know?
Yeah.
And Joseph Cotton's in this one, along with Mickey Hargitay, who is the father of Mariska Hargitay. You know, Jane Mansfield's daughter.
And was married to Jane Mansfield.
Right, and they had a kid, Mariska Hargitay, who's on Law & Order SVU.
Right.
I think she's the highest paid TV actress now that...
I think I read that somewhere too.
Because what's-his-name's off of 2.5 Men.
Right, Charlie.
Yeah, so Charlie was above her, and now she must have the mantle.
Yep.
Skip Williamson, author. Do you have a website of your own, or is it the Facebook?
I've got the Facebook page. I think I may go ahead and build a website, but I need to archive this stuff, so you can be some help on that. And I just think that I should, I got to build the website. I had one for years, and then I let it lapse, but I still own the domain name skipwilliamson.com, so it's just a matter of doing some work.
You know what to do?
But now it's just, what?
Put a blog together, and then direct the skipwilliamson.com to the blog, and then coming soon, the new Skip Williamson site.
I'll do that.
And join Facebook, and here's my Facebook page, because people have to log into their Facebook and then search you on Google, Skip Williamson, Facebook, cartoonist.
Right, exactly.
Skip, it's been an honor, a real honor for me to talk to you today.
Well, it's nice to talk to you too, Joel.
And we'd love to have you back on Visual Radio.
I'll come down and sit next to you.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man. Really would.
We'll do it.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.
Our first guest of the new year, Skip Williamson. You can go to wikipedia.org and put in Skip Williamson, Skip_Williamson, and there's a great few pages on him. And I think next week we will have Jerry Ross. I'll talk to Jerry about Bobby Hebb and Keith and Spanky and our gang. Spanky and our gang from Chicago, and Skip Williamson was there in Chicago making comic books. I should have asked him if he and Spanky McFarlane ever crossed paths. I know Buzzy Linhart stayed out at Spanky's house for a couple of weeks. They were both on the Mercury label, which was in Chicago, which is why people were in Chicago in the 60s who were in the music business. So it is time to talk Lady Frankenstein. And I pick up the phone so our stalkers don't get the phone numbers. They are out there. And we know who they are. And they know who they are.